My opinion about politics and these sort of things never please anybody. And so I spend a lot of time staring into space and avoiding politics. But I'll try to give you my assessment of what's going on with Russia. Essentially, the 80s were a mysterious time. I wouldn't characterize the Russians as victims, but mysterious things happened that I learned about up close at the University of Pittsburgh. And my views are conscripted into what they have been by my experiences. Now, there was a scoundrel who still has a great deal of influence over places like Seattle named Miles Kirshner, who had an affectionate way of dominating the high school crowd that, because I had no friends but as a result of my deafness, I was sort of limited in who I could take up with. And they made it like they endured my presence. It was normal in the Jewish community for me to be regarded as a reject. And I hadn't put together that these people were fiends who were behind what happened to me as a child yet. And Kirshner used to say there's no such thing as objective reality, only what the jury believes. He had that on his brochure. Now, what he means to say is when it comes to America, there's no such thing as objective reality, only what the jury believes, misled to believe by media. What I understand about what went on with Glasnost is that Russia decided to liberate the Ukraine. They gave up their nuclear weapons, and we signed agreements not to expand NATO and a couple of other things. Clinton broke. And in a better world, that would have made headlines. Clinton broke the agreement with Russia. So Hitler had done something like that. Bombed Kosovo. And we ended up bombing Iraq shamelessly over the objections of the UN Security Council, apparently. And yet we always fault Russia for doing that sort of thing. So that conjured this nuclear behemoth with all of these tanks who was going to rule blitzkrieg over Poland because um, Putin wanted to facilitate the secession movement in the Donbass. And admittedly, he got out of hand. He discharged a lot of artillery that killed innocent people, and the Ukraine was unrighteously savaged. But you can't expect the Russians to subscribe to Miles Kirshner's absurd representation of America's fictions in the body politic. Yes, you can get a lot of people who go along to get along and whose food on the table depends on sleeping through things they don't understand to go along with the idea that um, Glasnost freed the Ukraine from all obligations to Russia when there were conditions that were broken by Clinton, according to Noam Chomsky, very brazenly broke the treaty with Russia and saying, you can, this is right at their doorstep. Like it's just we're back with Cuba again, Mexico and Cuba arming to the teeth, breaking agreements and threatening us. I expect Russia just to sit there. Well, I don't know what happened. I mean, the Donbass is mysterious. I hear there were 15,000 civilians killed there by bombs. The evidence suggests those were CIA and NATO bombs. And there were Nazis in the leadership of the party, and that dude Zelensky is associated with one of the billionaires who lies and tried to occupy back like the January 6th insurrection scene. I'm not real well versed on the details, but people don't know these things. The media didn't broadcast in headlines. Clinton violated the agreement of Glasnost because people would have said, why? For heaven's sake, stop it. But in America, there's no such thing as objective reality, only what the jury believes. The jury believes that Ukraine didn't have any special obligations because they don't know about it. You can't expect Russia to subscribe to that. So I was in Montana when all this went on, and I was appalled that John Tower was raving after the Berlin Wall came down. And so I was thinking, somebody embrace Gorbachev, talk about what a great hero he is, how we can't wait to help Russia. But he was older, even more menacing now. And so he secretly wanted the Berlin Wall for containment. It was ridiculous. And Bushy Toon, who sat through my being tortured, I'm a member of his ship by the enemy, by the Axis powers. I mean, Yoko Ono has a direct channel into my computer. I get cryptonyms from those murderous thugs who killed Cersei Kennedy every single day. The chief police just ignores it. Homeland Security just ignores it. The FBI just ignores it. And Seattle laughs. Because Kirshner has this voodoo on it. There's no such thing as objective reality, only what all of those worthless worthies believe. So, Bush then invades Iraq, weapons of mass destruction, which was widely laughed at as a hallucination, a conjuring trick. And we get, I can show you who was behind 911. There are photographs of the suspicious people outside the World Trade Center brandishing stilettos. Nope, nope, nobody looks at them. Nobody looks at them. Now I'm not saying that Russia is a victim of 911. That's scrambling my message. I don't like what happened to the children of the Ukraine. I mean, I think it's absolutely monstrous. I don't like what happened to the Yemeni school bus I read about. And there's moral equivalency between all this stuff. When we say, well, we're going to stand up to Russia and make sure they never do anything like that, and Russia says, well, we're standing up to you to make sure you never do anything like that. It doesn't look to me like either one of them care who does, as long as it does. And the Ukraine was like a neutral parameter. After COVID-19, we'll show you what it would look like in a neutral parameter if we didn't resort to existential resolution of overpopulation, is what the fossil fuel industry calls it. There's too many people is why we burn so much carbon. The reason why we burn so much carbon is that Jimmy Carter was shut down in favor of that monster, Ronald Reagan. And I have no idea if Russia was secretly helping him the way they secretly helped Trump. I would not put it past them. But the truth is also the truth when it comes to the Donbass and the Ukraine. NATO went in there and were lobbing spitballs at the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union lashed out. You can't say that it was a tyrannical act of premeditation intended to conquer under circumstances like that. You have to say, I'm not sure what's going on. You have to say, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure what's going on in their heads. You know, you can't trust Putin. That's obvious. Yeah. He turned down a chance to be a respectable, intelligent leader in favor of bombing children, which is, you know, it's just crazy. The whole thing is just stupid, ridiculous. And Bush has a lot to do with it. He's, you know, Bushington was 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 a weasel, and Clinton followed in his footsteps. So did Obama. Obama probably wouldn't make a move without consulting him. You know, and Trump just went up and just kicked the board and said, aha, vengeance is mine for the Axis. You know, and he gets cheers from North Korea, for heaven's sakes. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. People can't treat each other like human beings. They have to win something. What is there to win? Win, but plant the flag on the annihilation of the earth. Gee, what a victory! I mean, it's just, I've I've seen this stuff for a long time. I grew up through the whole thing. Yeah, and they this is their mentality. This is what they get the jury to believe, that the person who had most unconditional acceptance of is someone I would hurt. I mean, and you wonder why our society is wrecked. That these blowhards from the city of Pittsburgh, for example, would take a person who I unconditionally accept, love, and admire, unconditionally, and say, I tried to hurt them, wanted to hurt them. I am responsible for what happened to them when something goes wrong. Why? And you wonder why our society is wrecked. I was trying to be the most trustworthy person I could possibly be. I was making sure all of my library books were paid for if they were lost. And they chased me out of town in favor of somebody who was busted on an $8 million museum heist. And they're still at it. They've collected pornography of me as part of a genocide pornography program and laugh about it online every single day. And the police don't investigate. Homeland Security won't investigate. Putin's not going to be bothered with that. Got his shotgun out and telling me, don't look at Camilla Valieva, or I'll have my Duke of Hazard jump the line after you, boy. I mean, the whole thing is absurd. It's, you know, and they call me reckless. They rubbed my face in it. They rubbed my face in it. Their nature of reality collapsed at the Fernhollow Bridge. And they still see themselves as on the moral high ground. The moral high ground of a bridge that just collapsed. They used to say, "Chunky underfoot, I walk like a man, I step on your toes because I know I can." And that was their philosophy at the University of Pittsburgh, the nature of reality. They came after a child who they brutally tortured, who was son of the chair of philosophy of education, senior faculty. You may have, and they have these Japanese kids who come because they know I'm writing into the script in Japan. They sit down in the cafe and they do like this. And they're real fast. I've got carpal tunnel. I can't really imitate it, but they twiddle the pens real fast for Croak Hagrid, Gustave Corona, and her son, Sean Lennon. Because they know that I'm written into the name of the University of Pittsburgh, and they have hotwired, effectively with the help of Schulman, a big school book heist. And my father was driving a school bus in his retirement. And he got bombed there just as surely as the Yemeni school bus, and just as sure as Yemeni crew, you know. You can expect America to believe anything that Kirshner blubber, the nature of reality for the administration of the University of Pittsburgh. But you expect the Russians to buy it when you broke in a treaty that was in print? Mr. Clinton, Mr. Clinton, hello. This is the language of Martin Andelman. He says hello to wake you up, right? And what is he doing? He's selling Kirshner's blurb. Hello, I have your back. We can do anything we want. We will grab them by the pussies. We will steal their museum book. Hello. I don't know what to tell you about this job, except that Ukraine looks like a parameter where they mapped out the nature of reality for people who don't understand the civil necessity of extreme measures because the fossil fuel organizations of Joe Manchin's says we're overpopulated. Maybe the Russians just cooperated in the whole thing, you know? And they're shrieking, oh, we'll lob nuclears, we'll lob nuclears. I mean, what kind of mentality is that? It's yeah. Nobody asked me what I think, and maybe that's why. It's that the whole thing sums up to a bunch of retards.